Hello, my name is Matthew, and just this morning I read The Stranger by Camus, and this is one of the books. There's a handful of these kinds of books that I read as a very young man, a teenager, a high schooler. So The Stranger by Camus, or the books by Jack Kerouac, Hunter S. Thompson's writing, Kurt Vonnegut, really like that stable of writers that key into that demographic, young men. And as I've gotten older and started revisiting books that were influential for my growth as a reader, may be interested to read more. Kind of one by one, authors that I found very entertaining or fun or outrageous did not hold up to further scrutiny revisiting. Kurt Vonnegut's a good example. And I haven't read Camus in a very long time, and it was interesting. There's parts of the book that are these scene stealers, the moments of the book that are powerful and stay with you. It has that opening line, "Mother died today," or maybe it was yesterday. I'm not quite sure. This has a different translation, which I'm not as fond of. "Mama died today," or yesterday, maybe. I don't know. And it really sets the tone for the whole rest of the book. It's this character who is nihilistic, indifferent, distanced, emotionally unattached, has no convictions or beliefs, amoral, and the story gets rocked with his mother dying. And he's not entirely a villain. He's dutiful. He has a job, has a stable apartment. There's a restaurant that he goes to. The proprietor knows him by name. He had to put his mother in a home in Algiers, which is going to be a long ride for him, to take care of her because he couldn't afford to take care of her in her old age when she was living with him. So he's a complex character. He's emotionally unavailable, nihilistic, indifferent, but it does seem like he's following the motions of what is expected in a normally run society. You have a job, you try to you get something to eat, you take care of your mother. His mother dies, he gets some time off of work, and now has to go to the home and go through all the funeral operations. And it seems like he doesn't care. He doesn't cry. He's more concerned with the weather and being tired, being on the bus ride. He gets to the home, the funeral home. He's meeting people there. His mother's in a box. They ask if they would like the lid to be taken off of the casket so he can see his mother for one last time. He says no. He's sitting next to his dead mother, and there's another caretaker in the house, or in this room, rather. And they're smoking cigarettes and having coffee. He goes to sleep. There's a vigil, and his mother's buried, and he goes back to his normal life. Goes home. He's going to work. The whole rest of the first part of the book, the first half section, is just villainous and cruel. All of the characters that we start to meet, the neighbors. We have the neighbor that mistreats his dog, yells at the dog, yanks the dog on the leash. The dog is whimpering and crying. The other neighbor who might be running some sort of prostitution ring or is allegedly doing something nefarious, believes that his girlfriend was cheating on him, and he wants to do something especially cruel. He wants to do something tormenting. And he gets our main character, whatever his name is. Now I forget. He wants him to write this letter to get his girlfriend to come back to the apartment just so he can disgrace her. And as a result, there's a scene in the apartment building, and this neighbor is beating this woman. The police show up. It's just awful. There's despicable, cruel characters doing despicable, cruel things. And unlike the typical traditional idea of a novel where virtue is rewarded, villainous things are punished in the end, there's something unsettling and queasy inducing with a character and following the mindset of this character who's just completely apathetic for anything, whether or not it's good or bad. It makes no difference. He has a girl. He very quickly has a girlfriend in the book, a girl that he works with. He meets her the day after he got back from the funeral. And at some point, she says, "Do you love me?" And he says, "No." A little bit later on, she says, "Will you marry me?" And he goes, "Sure, if you want." She says, if another girl asked you to marry you, would you just marry her? And he goes, "Yeah, probably." So it's this character that doesn't care about anything. Doesn't care if a dog is getting beaten. Doesn't care if a woman in the apartment is being beaten. It's just awful. But he has a collection of awful friends and relationships, and they have a beach trip. And the family members of the girl that got beat in the apartment, they're Muslim. In the book, it's Arab, but they're Muslim. They end up following this group of characters to the beach, and there's an altercation. Fight breaks out. A knife is brandished. The neighbor gets a cut on his shoulder and his mouth slashed open. And there's another altercation that was completely unnecessary. It's something that just didn't need to happen. There's no reason why it would happen. And inexplicably, our main character now is walking around the beach with a gun, and he comes across this Muslim guy that he had an altercation with just recently. And he shoots him. And then he shoots him 4 more times. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 kind of comically begins, because it ends with he shot this man dead. Part 2 begins after the arrest. And again, we have this main character fixating on minutia. He's in a prison. He's not allowed to have his cigarettes. He gets meals. He spends a lot of time talking about the heat in the air and the sun in the sky, and is still rather indifferent. I'm in prison now, and that's that. He has a lawyer that he talks to, and a bit of absurdism, something that you would find akin to like a Kafkaesque situation. The proceedings that happen, this trial that begins, the interrogations and interviews, leading up to the trial and the final verdict of the crime that he has committed, is inexplicably wound up with his reaction to his mother's death. And so, like, he's in court. There's prosecutors and defense attorneys just examining. You didn't even cry. Your mother dies, and you didn't even cry. You're smoking cigarettes next to the casket. All of the characters come back. They're witnesses in this book during the trial, and he's sentenced to death, and that's the book. Almost until to the very end, we have a character that is completely apathetic to the world. It's just complete nihilism. Now, I tend to see this as sort of a inspired by Crime and Punishment. There's certainly inescapable parallels. I read this in a single sitting, so it is breezy and fast-paced, and the pages turn. It did not pack a punch. I didn't find this character or his worldview. I didn't find it exciting or titillating or subversive. It just seemed pitiable, and I think it's going to be a long time since I think I want to be reading Camus again. Again, I remember reading this as a teenager and just thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, this is wild stuff. And whatever that entertainment value is pretty much gone. If I'm looking for metaphysical, out there, on the fringe ideas, conversations, philosophical dialogues, I now have a lot more options in my toolkit. But anyway, that's The Stranger by Camus. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you like other things by Camus, things like that. And thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like, and take care.